Section 11, Territorial Basis of Criminal Jurisdiction. I was going through the one-count charge on child pornography against the suspect, Udoka Anene, when I heard the door to my office open. I looked in that direction. The person behind the door hesitated. Curious, I said, "Who is that?" My voice somewhat raised. A voice came from behind the door as the person slowly revealed himself. "Sketch. Are you afraid the hostiles that stole your phone will come and make an attempt on you here?" It was my colleague, friend and squad mate, Bologi Abdul. He had been in Abuja for a case since I resumed duty. I was really glad to have him back. He had a lot of cases on his plate, but he assured me he would make my stolen phone case a priority. After asking me a couple of questions about the guys who had robbed me, he told me that his men were already on their trail. In fact, that very morning, they had arrested the person who bought the phone, and he was leading them to where he got it. We chatted some more, and then he went back to his office, promising to update me as they made progress on my case. A few minutes after he left, one of my inspectors walked into the office, accompanied by two men. One was dressed in native attire, while the other was dressed in suit. The man in suit was a lawyer, while the other man was his client, who was also a complainant. The lawyer allowed the client to explain his predicament. It turned out he lost the sum of 28 million naira to fraudsters that presented themselves as estate agents with two properties to sell. But after they had confirmed payment from their bank, they disappeared. I asked the client when the incident happened, and he said a couple of hours ago. The lawyer handed me the bank statement showing where the said money was transferred. As luck would have it, I had a good relationship with the bank's IT unit, so I quickly reached out to them to help me monitor the money. About 10 minutes later, they told me that someone had accessed the said account housing the stolen funds. The person had filled out a form in one of the bank's branches in Ogun State. The IT unit sent the address that was written down, and the complainant confirmed that the address was not far from the branch where he had authorized the transfer. I implored the IT unit to help me stall the fraudsters' transaction so we could meet them at the bank. Then I quickly mobilized two of my detectives and 3 armed SWAT officers. We got to the bank in time and arrested about 4 of them in the banking hall. The complainant was able to identify 2 of them as the self-acclaimed estate agents. We went back to our base in Lagos with all the 4 suspects, as well as the lawyer and the complainant, who quickly rushed to his office to retrieve all the documents he had on the fake properties. We got back to the office at about 8 p.m. and my inspectors took statements from the 2 parties. All the suspects were eventually detained in the cell. I was about going home when I got a call from Bologi. He said he had the location of the group that had robbed me and that he had arrested the person who bought the phone, and the person took them to where he bought the phone. From what I gathered, the seller was one Emeka, who dealt in stolen phones. Bologi raided his place and discovered other phones whose IMEI numbers were also sent to our office for tracking. Emeka confessed when he learned how many years he would spend in prison for receiving stolen phones. He opened up, stating that he got all his stolen phones from a cult group that usually carried out robberies around the axis where I was robbed. We all booked for arms and headed out. We raided the cult group's hideout and were able to arrest their number 1. However, his men already ran away immediately they saw we were police officers. The operation lasted 24 hours. We lodged in the same hotel the DCO had suggested I stay in the night I was robbed. At the station, we detained and screened all the people we arrested till we were left with 4 suspects: the leader of the cult group and the 3 people that robbed me that night. We took them back to the office where the OC Legal called my attention to the fact that I had detained the suspects I brought from Ogun State beyond 24 hours. As such, their lawyer was threatening to file a suit against my action. I quickly prepared a 3-count charge of conspiracy, obtaining money by false pretense, and stealing against all 4 suspects with regards to their involvement based on their statements and available findings. But their lawyer was able to stop our charging, citing Section 11 of the Criminal Laws of Lagos State 2015, which states that whereby the provisions of any law of the state, the doing of any act, or making any omission constituting an offense, the provision of this law shall apply to every person who is in the state at the time of his doing the act or making the omission. After he cited this, the magistrate called on the complainant and asked him where the offense was committed. He confessed that it was in Ogun State. The magistrate moved to strike out the charge for lack of court's jurisdiction to try the case. But I quickly pleaded with the magistrate to grant us remand warrant for 3 days so we could move the suspects to the appropriate court. The suspect's lawyer moved to overrule our application, but the magistrate eventually granted us 2 days to charge the case to the appropriate court. She might not have the jurisdiction to try the case, but she had the authority to approve remand order so that the right thing would be done.
This work of fiction is a production of COSPEAKS, composed and written by Chidi Okoye, narrated by Ikenna Igwe, sound production by Glaze Entertainment, graphics by Illustro Kings Creatives, video production and effects by Kings Media, visual and shots by Sheung B. Thank you for viewing.